our speaker today is Carol Higgins. Carol Higgins is a semi-retired science educator who is actively engaged in environmental policy education and social justice issues. Carol serves as the chair of the Michigan Association of Conservation Districts Education Subcommittee, an Environton coach, and has been a board member on the St. Joseph County Conservation District Board since 2009. She is vice chair of the Glen Oaks Community College Board of Trustees and is a member of the County Solid Waste Committee. She's instrumental in bringing the first Habitat for Humanity bill to her small community of Meriden and will soon participate at its open house. She's a certified presenter for Al Gore's Climate Reality Project, which provided a general description of how the Inflation Reduction Act supports individuals who want to convert to electric-powered homes and vehicles. And so today she will focus on how the IRA is helping us move from an extractive economy to a circular one. So, Carol, take it away.
And good morning, everyone. Just to get that little town I'm from correct, I'm from Mendon.
Oh,
so
sorry.
I'm about 20 miles south of Kalamazoo. And our home, we're riparian. We set on the shore of Portage Lake, and unfortunately or fortunately, I'm watching the ice as it kind of is disappearing today. And we have eagles, we have geese, we have ducks, we have a lot of waterfowl, and they seem to love what we have. And I'm sure they'll be taking advantage of any fish they find here soon. So I'm gonna see if I can share my screen. There we go. All right, can you see the Earth?
Yes.
All right, great. Well, so here we are, occupying this blue planet for a very small time of its existence, along with many other species, and we often behave as if we are the only ones that matter. This photo was taken by the Apollo 17 astronauts. That was the last Apollo mission, and it was in late 1972 that this beautiful photo was shared with us. And I was 18 at the time. And along with many other people, I think it was just an overwhelming picture because it showed us how we're all here in this one little space on the universe. It was sort of an exclamation point on a very amazing year. In 1972, DDT was banned. The Clean Water Act was passed. 18-year-olds such as myself were given the right to vote nationally for the first time. And interestingly to me, I didn't realize this till recently, the Earth Observing Landsat satellite program began in 1972. So for over 50 years, scientists have been able to document how the Earth's surface changes due to climate. So it's showing how droughts, how fires, urbanization, deforestation, and so many other things are changing the way the surface of our planet looks. Surrounding that blue marble with a diameter of about 8,000 miles is a thin sheet of air. The atmosphere is about 60 miles thick. The troposphere is the lowest, 5 to 9 miles. And this is where weather systems are located and where nitrogen, oxygen, and carbon dioxide gases are found. And it looks something like this from a distance. You can see that the thin strip of atmosphere where the presence of oxygen is located bends light, and that gives us our blue sky, which we actually can see today. This thin strip holds the pollution of gases and particulate matter from everything we humans have been burning as we devour the fossil fuels that have been buried for millions of years. We are spewing 152 million tons of man-made warming pollution into the thin shell of our atmosphere every 24 hours, as if it were an open sewer. As written, the IRA allocates $369 billion to energy security and climate solutions. So that's a lot of money. Just trying to wrap my mind around that many billions of dollars is hard for me. And yet we're throwing so much more at war and other things, the billions going many different places. So specifically looking at the IRA as it affects our individual families and households, these are some of the projected economic benefits. On average, by 2030, U.S. households could save up to $1,800 per year. They're estimating 9 million new jobs created by 2032 and 50 billion per year saved in annual U.S. energy expenditures. So here are some of the things broken down that the IRA is anticipated to do. It will bring $4.1 trillion in new capital investment. Solar and wind will get $334 billion annually by 2030. They're estimating $28 billion annually towards carbon capture, transportation, and storage. There's money in there for hydrogen to increase it 3 times to $4 billion annually. And consumer technologies, including massive consumer and business shifts to things like electric vehicles, the electric appliances we've been hearing about, and heating and cooling systems, as well as industrial technologies. And as Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm says, deploy, deploy, deploy. She is pushing to get businesses and individuals digging into all these opportunities that are out there. So there are a lot of catalysts, including our state legislature, city legislatures, counties. One that I tend to not think about, but just as important, are public utility commissions, are catalysts of the IRA potential. So you can see there, they can help the utilities plan to make their costs less, so they don't affect our energy purchasing power as much. They will support fossil fuel communities during transition. You've probably seen some of the articles that talk about fossil fuel plants being converted to renewable energy and helping people working there retrain so that they can work in some of these different new energy industries. And then we have to connect all the new renewables that are being developed into a grid and make it smarter. And then we also, there are certainly some inconsistent information out there about carbon capture. That this is from Al Gore's slide, and because there are some concerns about carbon capture being the best way to go in our energy future. So as those things are developed, we're hoping to get the information so that it is accurate. So what can we do? Taking advantage of the credits and incentives that are available to us through the IRA, educating our communities on the IRA, and advocating for local laws that boost building electrification tax credits. I think Kalamazoo has taken some action on this. I'm not as well versed, I'm sure, as some of the rest of you. Our buildings account for 31% of energy-related emissions in the United States. And so many homeowners who live in homes that are 20 years old or more can certainly reduce their building emissions by increasing energy efficiency, reducing their energy use, and choosing fewer and better materials, and then switching to clean energy. So these were some of the numbers that were originally put out for the IRA for rebates to individual taxpayers. Some of those have been tweaked a little bit, and I have not tried to update this slide because I think they're going to be tweaked more, and partly because it varies from individual to individual what kind of rebates and tax incentives you'll actually get. So this is the other piece of it, the tax credits, that most of us who want to explore the tax credits, we're limited to a certain amount per year. And knowing where you want to go and planning it out ahead of time for the 10 years of the program will help you benefit to the greatest amount from these different options that are out there. So some people, my husband and I are on retired income, and so we don't have a lot of federal income tax because most of it is not included in our taxable income. So we're more likely to benefit from the other side of the picture where we can get the rebates up front. But this is where everybody's different. So if you know you are going to owe taxes, then make sure you check out that your purchase meets the tax credits, relevant efficiency and product standards. A few years ago, we put in a mini split, and our electric company was offering a rebate program, and we found out that afterwards, didn't realize it up front, but we found out afterwards that our particular unit was a couple percentage points below the efficiency standard that our utility was expecting. And so we had to fill a form to get what's the term I want, to still be allowed to get the credit, and they accepted our situation. So there are some things out there that we think might qualify for the tax credits, but you really need to make sure it is an Energy Star type of unit. And so I believe the IRS has released forms for 2023's tax season. And if you do your own, make sure you look for it. If you have someone do it for you, then if you made a purchase last year, they should be able to help you fill out the correct form so you can get your credit. If you are in one of those older homes or not sure, the best place to start is with an energy audit. And some places are offering those locally, and there is a tax credit to cover some of the cost, but it can help you decide where to begin on converting your home to an all-electric space and find out which credits to develop first as you make those purchases. Which ones will be right for you? Because we're all going to start somewhere different depending on whether our furnace is the old thing we want to get rid of, or if we have a gas stove that's getting on its last legs, all of those different things are going to be impacting where we are going to start on converting to an all-electric home. So this slide is just saying that depending on a person's income, some people will qualify for things and others won't. And so that is, again, another reason why it is hard for anyone to say up front, you're going to get this, and everybody gets the same thing. It won't be the same. It's different for everyone. So to make it more accessible, part of the IRA is working to address the upfront costs of these things we need to replace. So we can do a lot of these things through changing policy. And this is an example. Denver, Colorado has already put together a program that is used in conjunction with their federal and state level incentives. So it is on top of the federal tax incentives, and it is on top of what Colorado is offering as state level tax breaks and incentives. But here is just some additional things that if you live in the city of Denver, can give you even more of an incentive to go out and make some of these changes. And I'm not going to go through them all, but those are some things that we can keep in mind that I'm certain Kalamazoo and other cities in Michigan can take advantage of. So here are some of the organizations that are already providing guides to help you figure out where you can benefit the most. The one that I seem to fall back on the most is the Rewiring America site. Because you can go right in and plug in your specific information and what you want to replace, and they will make a several-year plan to suggest one way you could go about making those changes. So flex those consumer muscles. Take a look at what is available that makes sense to you. And if you go to the climaterealityproject.org, Acts to Action, you can also get involved in the campaign to make this our climate moment. So that's where I was connected to take the training last year. And they do trainings a couple of times a year right now, I believe. I haven't checked out what the most recent one is or what the next one will be, but it is last year I had a 2-day Zoom kind of training, and I deleted a lot of the slides from that presentation to make it fit in today's time frame. But that's one place to go. So I wanted to talk in addition about some of the other parts of the IRA that haven't had as much attention. When I was talking with Nikki, I said, I feel like most of the people who participate in Fridays for the Future have probably already seen a lot of the IRA benefits for our individual homes and converting to electricity. But some of the other things in that big package included climate smart agriculture programs, funding for research and development. There's money in there has extended the Affordability Care Act. I know some families have a very low per month cost for their health care now. And we've probably all heard about prescription drug pricing reforms that are taking place for different drugs, and a limit on how much individuals pay out of pocket for their prescription drugs if they're on Medicare. It also has IRS tax enforcement in the legislation and a 15% corporate minimum tax. Now, I know that there are some rumors in Washington about trying to change these a little bit, and that may be part of the funding for war and peace and border security to come to some kind of a compromise. But this is what was in the actual IRA when it was passed. And then if we take a look at how it was planned to be paid for, because we often think or hear people say that, oh, we can't afford it. But the way the IRA was written, it was designed to actually reduce the national deficit by an estimated $300 billion over a 10-year period. And so a lot of that was by increasing revenue from the corporate tax, which was estimated to be $313 billion, and from the IRS tax enforcement. So funding the IRS at a higher rate so they can have enough tax employees to actually inspect the tax filings of the wealthiest among us. And they estimate an additional 124 billion would come into our national coffers. Yeah. And then there's a carried interest loophole, which I can't explain, but by closing that, they estimate $14 billion additional into our national taxes. So these estimates are either from the Joint Committee on Taxation or the Congressional Budget Office. So several of these programs, I feel, will promote and support a circular economy. For example, regenerative agriculture, which is kind of the ag piece, will allow farmers to pull carbon from the air and put it back into the soil instead of being solely extractive in their practices. And so that supports healthy microbes. It reduces or eliminates chemicals, man-made chemicals from the system, and keeps living roots and cover or armor on the soil for as much of the year as possible. Kind of like our grandparents and great-grandparents did, they were pretty much circular on the farm. Everything, all their inputs came from what they had. They saved seeds from year to year. They incorporated their animal manure and so on to keep their soil in a healthy space. Then we got away from it, and now there are lots of farm programs trying to help farmers incorporate those again. Circularity, then, is the movement to create a circular economy. And I think it's pretty exciting. It's a relatively new term to me, at least. So instead of single-use items that immediately go to the landfill, circularity strives to create materials that can be reused and recreated to prevent all of that waste. Some brands that we're familiar with that are already doing that include Patagonia, IKEA, H&M, which is a fashion clothing giant, and Adidas. I was just reading this morning about Mud Jean, Jean. It's a company that has an interesting lease program. And they take recycled denim, people can send it in, and then they make new pairs of jeans that customers lease for $10 a month. So that is a way that you aren't actually purchasing, you're sort of leasing them like you do an automobile. Other things in the affordable care, in this act are to create improved recycling of battery, photovoltaic, and wind companies. There's an incredible amount of money going into research and development that's going to help us reach that point not reach a certain point, but build up on our ability to do things more efficiently and more economically. We'll continue to see prices of things going down on this list of materials that we are doing so that it will be more affordable. I think this was mentioned before, but there are a number of fossil fuel plants in the country that will need to be closed. We won't use them anymore. And there are plans to be able to convert them into renewable energy production sites. And then workers will be trained to make that transition as well. So there's an aqua metals business out there, and they have information on their site about the electrified future and EV, electric vehicle recycling, under the IRA. So as of last August, clean energy companies have begun or announced projects in 44 states. So all but 6 states, right, are already taking advantage of this research and development. And they've produced over 170,000 new jobs and raised over $278 billion in investments just since the passing of the IRA. So we know there's a lot of new materials that we need to use in order to make things like our photovoltaics and wind turbines. And they estimate that it will take 3.5 billion tons of minerals for the clean technologies that are needed over the next 30 years. So over a 30-year period, 3.5 billion tons, and that's a lot, right? And yet when you compare it to the extraction of fossil fuels, in 2020 alone, we extracted nearly 8 billion tons of coal and 4 billion tons of crude oil worldwide. So the fossil fuels, we burn them and they're gone. But these minerals that are being extracted, the intention is that they will be recycled and reused over and over again. The IRA helps families save money so they can afford to invest in additional renewables and electrification. So this hasn't been talked about much in the research I've done, but it seems to me as families can reduce their health care costs, they can think about buying an electric vehicle or putting in a new furnace. It also has upfront rebates on qualifying purchases. So those who are in a low-income home, are in a low-income family, but live in their own home, they get those upfront costs right off the bat to put in new windows, to replace insulation, and make their home ready for those appliance upgrades. The place that I've been able to find in the Kalamazoo area for energy audits is Better World Builders. And you can contact them and they will set up an energy audit for you. Or if you know someone else who might benefit from that, that's the place that I am aware of. So there's my little information at the bottom about where I got my training and so on. And my email. If anyone wants to reach out to me that way, I'd be happy to try to help you out. And with that, I'm open to questions.
So if anybody has any questions, you can raise your hand. And in the meantime, one of your slides said that the IRS, I think, was $124 billion. And I just read yesterday where it's estimated that they're going to get $561 billion in the next
From the tax
10
enforcement,
years.
you mean?
Right. So
Wow.
that's a tremendous jump from what was originally, and it was just yesterday that it came out, and that was from the Department of the Treasury. So I think it's probably fairly reliable.
Tell me that amount again, Nikki. How much?
561 billion from 2024 to 2034.
Okay. That's an
Mark,
amazing amount.
Mark, you have a question.
Yes. Hi, Carol. Thank you very much for the presentation. Good to see you again. I'm wondering, as we are talking with others and publicizing, if we have an agreement about what's the best website to steer people to. Is it, in everybody's opinion, the Rewiring America site, which I'm aware of and have used? Or are there others and this is open to more than just Carol, if anyone has any thoughts on this. Are there other places to get information that's good and detailed? Thanks.
I'd like to know others' opinion too, because the Rewiring America site is the one that I've spent the most, pretty much all my time on.
If I may say, I don't have a recommendation or other sites, but the link to the Rewiring America website, that website is at the bottom of every Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition newsletter every week. So there's an easy way to access it.
We don't really endorse anything, Mark. So if somebody has a better site or another site that they think people would like to use, it's open to be publicized. I think Rewiring America has done a great job of publicity, and so everybody knows about it. But we're
I just thought maybe somebody here has experience with other really good sites, but maybe not.
It would be really nice if the state of Michigan would put together their own document that would focus it specifically for us, but I'm not aware of it. I think there's some information out there. I'm just not sure it's put together as well as the Rewiring America.
Steve?
Nikki. Yeah, so I'll just admit to being a little confused about some things are tax rebates and some things tax credits, and some things are just flat out straight out rebates. That's true. And is there an easy way to find out which is which? Or do you have to, go to one of these calculators and just see
Right.
for
So my
something
understanding is I have gone to the Rewiring website, and somewhere there is a document that shows basically 3 different categories. So for those working Americans in the lowest income, where they probably don't even pay any federal tax. So if you don't pay any tax, you can't get the tax credit, because it just reduces your taxable or not your taxable income, and it reduces how much you pay in taxes. So they qualify for the upfront rebates. That's where they're going to get the biggest benefit. Then there is a middle category of income, a bracket, where families in that category can get some rebate or tax rebates, but they also qualify for some of the upfront discounts on their purchases, and there's going to be a way that you show what your income is and take it into your Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you're going to buy something from, and they give you that upfront discount. And then there is another group who have more wealth more income, and they will not qualify for any of the upfront discounts, but they can take all the tax credits up to a certain amount each year. You can't buy everything at once and get $10,000 off your taxes, except maybe for a photovoltaic system. But for a lot of the other things, there's a limited amount that you can get each year. And that's what I like about the Rewiring America site, is they really do a better job explaining it than I can. So you can see, well, you can take up to this amount per year off your taxes if you're in this income bracket. And if somebody can explain it better, please do.
But it was also my understanding, Stephen, I think it's still, that some things started out as credits, but in 2024, they're going to be changing to rebates. And I think the car is one of them that in 2023, it was a credit, but in 2024, it will be a rebate. So it gets confusing. I don't know, Tom, do you have something on that, or do you have a question?
Well, kind of both. So my understanding is that each state is now holding the bag on this stuff. They've got to come up with how they're gonna manage these funds going to individuals. So in our state, Eagle, I think, is the one, and they're trying to do getting some public input and working on what the procedures are going to be and what the rules will be. And I think we're probably talking about fall sometime, maybe August, September, in that range, before excuse me, before we really know what the state is going to do, how we're going to go about it. So yeah, that's a big kind of waiting game, I think. As like you, Carol, I don't have a tax liability, and I think that the Rewiring America calculator may take into account what state you live in, and will be updating as as the rules roll out, but they're not there yet.
Right. I think when Nikki and I first talked about when to do this particular presentation, we were hoping that Michigan would have it all together by now, because they originally publicized from the federal level that states would be rolling out their program in 2023. But as we all know, it takes longer than we all think it should. So we're kind of still waiting on the specifics for that. But we still have available those income tax rebates, refunds from the federal government that we can take advantage of now if we have the income.
And I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true, that the states can run out of money and then they would be cutting off the rebates. Because each state was allocated a certain amount of money rather than everybody. If everybody qualified for their $7,000 rebate, apparently now by allocating the monies to the states, it's possible that in November they might run out of money for that particular kind of rebate and not do it anymore. But I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but it was an article I was reading about the rebates and possible lack of money in the future.
Thanks for bringing that up. I have read the same thing. So that would be one place where we could advocate. Maybe our state of Michigan could cough up some money to continue the program, or maybe we can advocate with our Congress people and senators at the federal level and ask them to give more support, because we really want this to be put out so that all families can qualify for these benefits. And if the money for low-income people runs out quickly, then we're not following up on that goal.
Tom?
Well, I just wanted to add that there's this clinker in the whole thing where low income people who get 100% rebate have to be earning less than 80% of the area median income. If you're earning, and that's pretty low. If you're earning between 80 and 120%, which is still pretty low, you qualify for a 50% rebate. And I just think there, where are you going to get the other 50% if you're in that low to moderate income category? I think there are a lot of people getting left out because of that. I'm hoping that the state will come up with a way to bridge that gap.
Place for us to push and talk to our people who represent us to see if they can address that.
I lived in Vermont before coming here, and so back in 2013, the state gave money to have home energy audits. So you got a discount by going with a company like Better World Builders to have a home energy audit. And I mean, before you spend money on a new very costly furnace, it's not going to do much good if your major problem is your lack of insulation. And I really think that we need to get the state people to give financial incentives. Maybe they can get it out of the this IRA fund for home energy audits. I had Better World Builders here do a home energy audit for me. And they did it as a 3-phase project. So the first phase showed the areas in my home that were leaking, and it was primarily in the attic. So I spent money getting a complete clean out of the old insulation of my 1950s home, and they put in new insulation in both the garage attic as well as the home and attic. The garage is attached. It made a huge difference. And they said, so on their 3-phase project, windows were the last thing. So I understand that, there's an incentive rebate for putting in new windows, but they feel that windows are the very last cost-effective way to improve your home, your home energy. Yes, replacing an old furnace is like second or third on the list in terms of cost effectiveness. Maybe that's all changed now that we have this IRA funding. But the other thing is, I think, even though you get a new a rebate on a hot water heater that scavenges heat from the air. Electric hot water heaters are very slow as opposed to gas. And so, they haven't quite developed or designed electric water heaters, geothermal water heaters that really work as efficiently as gas ones do. So be careful, beware of that. But I do think we need to focus on advocating to the state that they give a rebate or give an incentive for people to first start with an home energy audit. And it would be nice if we had a home energy audit fair here in Kalamazoo.
Mary Ann?
My comment is related to two things. One is that the Inflation Reduction Act, as Carol mentioned, covers some farm and forestry practices. And the other, the fact that some groups are working to try to eliminate elements from the Inflation Reduction Act. The Action for Citizens Climate Lobby, and you can go to citizensclimatelobby.org and find this easily addressed issue. The action for this month is to ask our representative and our senators to make sure that those monies for forests and farms for climate projects will be saved and will not be rescinded.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
I wanted to respond to Ann's comments. Yeah, I think you probably were in on the utility provided energy audits back in the 80s. And that went away, of course. There is a federal program that's been going on since back then called the Weatherization Assistance Program. That's for qualified low-income households, which starts with an energy audit and then provides a variety of remedies such as insulation and caulking and replacement appliances and that sort of thing. There's a dollar limit on it. And the money, the IRA just about doubled the amount of money that was available in there. However, there is a shortage of manpower, and so they were not able to spend all the money they had been allocated in 2022. When they got doubled in 2023, they still couldn't spend it, and it's still a problem. So yeah, there are issues on the delivery end of things. It's not just as easy as calling up a contractor. And that's another area that I think the IRA addresses training programs, but I don't know that anything's on the ground at this point. So, but anyway, if you know of somebody who is low income, you can refer them to it's called WAP, the Weatherization Assistance Program. Their offices are in Battle Creek for covering this area, and they won't do it if the home needs health and safety improvements. It's got to be up to speed on that. So that's another problematic thing in there, but at least the programs are there, and if they can get the workers, they'll be functioning.
Yeah, getting the workers is something that we've talked about in the past, that they're just not trained people for it. KVCC has all sorts of different programs now. The unions actually are looking for people to train, as journeymen and work their way up. But there's a decided lack of qualified labor right now. Mark?
Quick question. Does anyone here know or happen to know what level the area median income is applied at? I just Googled for Kalamazoo Township, AMI, Kalamazoo County, AMI. I found both, but do any of us know what level that's applied at? I don't.
I know. I don't
Okay.
see any
I'm
response.
not
Mark.
sure, maybe, but county I would think, but I'm not.
I'll do some digging. I'm just not sure.
Okay.
So you mentioned, somebody mentioned something that perked my mind. In my bio, it mentioned that I work with the conservation districts here in St. Joseph County. And a lot of the money from the IRA, that is agriculture related, is supposed to funnel through conservation districts. So that's great, except conservation districts themselves are funded at the state level. And the state of Michigan has the poorest support for conservation districts of all of the Midwest states. Last year, it was increased from 2 million to 3 million. That was divided between the 73 or something like that conservation districts. Not every single county has one. And then this year's budget, we just saw yesterday that the governor is putting it back down to 2 million. So kind of my last request is, if you are talking to your state representatives and senators, ask them to support conservation districts so that we can actually roll out these programs and help farmers do a better job of conserving their soils and regenerating their farmland and their forests. Because without that money, we can't hire the people to help them fill out the forms and work through the steps that they have to do in order to get the funding that's available there.
So basically you're saying that we have to go through a bureaucracy, but the bureaucracy isn't being given to people.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Here's this pool of money out here, but there's not enough people to bring it home so that the farmers can fill out the forms and get it done.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the lively discussion afterwards. And I hope this helped a few people. Bye.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a good day.